And I quote, "I'll be there in a minute. Give me a second."
Time is relative, folks. Time is relative.
Yes. So, hey, cheers to everybody in the chat.
They're a division rival. I don't care how many wins they get. Screw them.
That wasn't the take I was expecting to hear.
I want to gush over watching live Chris Tanev.
I think that we completely underestimate the skill it takes to play defense.
One highlight or several highlights does not a Calder trophy make.
I'm stepping in here. I'm going to be the crotchety old man here. They need to learn patience. They need to understand the tension, everything, and the drama.
How dare! Look at this. How is McDavid not getting a penalty?
You guys need to calm down with this, okay? You guys need to calm down with it.
Well, hello and welcome to the Shifts and Pucks and News Pack for Thursday, November the 17th. You can follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks, Facebook.com, Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com, Shifts and Pucks, Twitch.com, Shifts and Pucks. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network. As a busy night in the National Hockey League, very interesting night last night in the National Hockey League. We'll get to all of that here as we go through this. Of course, we usually do these during the week in the afternoon Pacific time, but since my hours have changed for the next couple of weeks, we've changed that back here to the morning a little here. So we'll touch on the games here, and we'll touch on what's going on in the National Hockey League, as well as look at the WHL and the AHL as well. There was a pretty significant trade that broke last night between the Seattle Thunderbirds and the Prince Albert Raiders, by the way, in the Western Hockey League. So we'll touch on that. So, but we get the Flames playing the Lightning tonight as well. We'll get to that as well. But let's start with last night. Let's start with the not so controversial conversations from last night. Are the St. Louis Blues back? They've won their fourth in a row. Last night, they beat the Chicago Blackhawks. Probably, into the preseason here, we were not surprised by that, but they won 5-2 over the Chicago Blackhawks. They lost 8 in a row. A lot of questions were going on, and so what was going on in St. Louis. You wondered if they were going to be able to turn it around. It appears that they're starting to. Certainly do still have a lot of work to do when you get off to this hole, as the Vancouver Canucks fans and Vancouver Canucks followers are no doubt aware of. But the Blues have been in this position before. They, got off to a rocky start and got led to a Stanley Cup. So that seems to be some advantage, but they seem to be turning things around at this particular point in time with that win over the Blackhawks last night. And of course, I don't think anyone had a lot of expectations from the Chicago Blackhawks, but they were playing pretty well over the year here. But Ryan O'Reilly, 2 points, Jordan Kyrou, 2 points, leading the way. And then you go also to Buffalo and Ottawa. Buffalo's lost 7 in a row. They got off to a really good start. I was impressed with them. I still think there's a lot to be impressed with Buffalo, but they still also are trying to figure out how to win, and they lost a pretty significant injury to Eric Comrie last night as well. So they're going now with Craig Anderson and Jukka-Pekka Lehtinen. But Jake Sanderson, 2 assists. Anton Forsberg makes 29 saves, and Ottawa beats Buffalo 4-1. Missed some interesting conversation around the possibility of Erik Karlsson coming back to Ottawa. Of course, Karlsson was traded to Ottawa, or traded to San Jose from Ottawa a few years ago. We'll see if there's talk of that return here, as Ottawa's desperate, along with a lot of other teams right now, desperate and looking for blue line help. And of course, the way that Erik Karlsson started, he's going to be mentioned in trade conversations, considering that San Jose is not considered to be in a playoff run at this point. But Ottawa getting the win. Ottawa still off to a good start. It's a win. Probably much like the Vancouver Canucks, you take the win, and you kind of continue to build this team. The game of the night last night that caused a lot of conversation was the Los Angeles Kings and the Edmonton Oilers. There was two things, though, to get out of there. Of course, the big conversation that everybody's talking about is Alex Edler's second period hit on Connor McDavid. And it was clearly a knee. Zach Hyman responded with a passionate response to Edler in the second intermission when he was interviewed with Gene Principe. Hyman did take a hit from a knee from Alex Edler a couple seasons ago when Hyman was playing with the Leafs and Edler was playing with the Canucks, so not last year. Hyman missed 2 months of the season. So Hyman has some history with Alex Edler that came into play here. Frank Saravelli said he doesn't expect any discipline to come from Edler. Oiler fans are upset. Oiler players were upset of the play. In my mind, I think that, if you're an Oilers fan and you saw it's a scary, we certainly looked scary. I'm not going to dispute that on that one. Connor, sometimes I get on the Oilers fans and media in terms of like he takes a hit. If it's a hit, that people expect it to be a penalty. This was a knee. I don't think that anyone can argue that. The question is, was he able to extend or get out of the way? And that's the difficult part about this play is, and Frank Saravelli, if you watch on Daily Faceoff, Frank Saravelli and Stephen Ellis did a good job breaking it down that Edler came from a ways away, but he couldn't extend or get out of the way of that situation, just with McDavid's speed coming in. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's no discipline in this, but at the same time, I can understand where Oiler fans are coming from and why they're upset. It is a scary situation. He's the most dynamic player in the game. He's one of the most exciting players in the game. He's the face of the league and certainly the face of the Edmonton Oilers franchise. And if he's not there, the Oilers are not going to be successful. All of that is understandable. And you've got former Vancouver Canucks people follow him and who know Alex Edler, don't necessarily see Alex Edler as a dirty player. Some point out that there's been a few knee incidents with Alex Edler. I've never really considered Alex Edler to be an extremely dirty player, but he's done this before. It's understandable. This is one, if there's discipline, I'm not surprised. If there's no discipline, I'm not surprised. And I think that this is probably going to be one where there's going to be a lot of yelling on Twitter either way. There already is. So that's the main story. The other story, though, in this game is the Kings came away with 29 block shots in this game, and there's a new rivalry now, and the Kings and Oilers above the Hyman Edler comments. Edler's hit a McDavid. This Kings team. Trevor Moore talked about it last night in the post game with they're just how much they don't like the Oilers, and they have taken it kind of personally that they lost last year to the Oilers, and they played a hard game, very hard, very tight. 29 block shots come out of that. You have Trevor Moore scoring a couple of goals. Got one of those guys. Wouldn't say underrated. That wouldn't be how I would classify Trevor Moore, but he's one of those guys that I don't think people appreciate his contributions enough. Trevor Moore there for the Kings. But he comes away with all 3 goals. Victor Arvidsson 3 assists. And the Kings come away with the win 3-1. Zach Hyman did get the goal for the Oilers. And McDavid and Draisaitl did not score. So, I think for the Kings, this is a credit them with the win. 29 takeaways in this game. Limited the Oilers to 1 power play. Outshot them 32-23. The Oilers only had 14 shots after 2 periods. It's funny, too, because one of the things that made me think a little bit about this is wonder what that series would have been like if Drew Doughty was in that last year. I know that people hate Drew Doughty. There's a lot of people, especially in Calgary, Edmonton, a lot of different places that are not fans of Drew Doughty. but boy, is he so important for the Kings. And you could see just, you saw the chirping between him and McDavid. He just brings a different energy, and that blue line with Drew Doughty is just a better blue line. Not that, just slots better. You wonder, and the Kings are sitting in second place in the Pacific Division. I think people underestimated the LA Kings coming into this year. They've got a pretty okay goaltending duel in Jonathan Quick and Cal Peterson. They don't have the spectacular goal scorers that the Flames, Oilers, or Kings or the Golden Knights have, but they get the job done. And the other thing here is Todd McLellan, former coach of the Edmonton Oilers. Don't think that he didn't put a little bit money onto the whiteboard here and try to get that back. I don't know Todd or anything like that. You got to feel that he still feels a little bit of something with how he would left that Edmonton Oilers organization. Todd McLellan is a good coach. He really is. He just was not a good situation when he was in Edmonton at the time. And now the Kings sitting in second place in the Pacific Division there. We'll see what that does for the Calgary Flames tonight. They start their second leg of this Eastern road trip, and they start in Tampa Bay tonight. Let's quickly look at Tampa Bay as we look at the standings here, and especially in the Atlantic Division. Tampa Bay sits in third, 9-6-1, 2 points behind Toronto, tied with Florida with the same amount of games. They've won their last two, and looking here to come away and get themselves kind of retracked. It's interesting. Of course, your goals leader is Steven Stamkos with 8. Your assist leader is Nikita Kucherov with 16. Vasilevsky is leading the way with 5 wins and a 3.10 goals against average. 3.38 goals per game, 3.25 goals against, 19th. Penalty kill 80%, power play 11th at 22%. The couple of few injuries here. The one that I think is fairly significant, they've got lost 3D are injured here. Eric Chernak, Cal Foote, Zach Bogosian, Anthony Cirelli, who I thought had a really good playoff last year for Tampa Bay, is also out. I think they missed, the defense will look a little bit different. You've got Ryan McDonough no longer there. He's in Nashville. I think that is a loss for Tampa Bay. Of course, they've had to do a number of salary cap machinations here, so you're missing a few players here. So this isn't the powerful Tampa Bay Lightning that we may know and love. We got some different defense, including Philip Myers in the lineup tonight for the Lightning, who was on waivers earlier. And you got Nicholas Paul, who's we're fans of here on the Shifts and Pucks podcast as well. Should be an interesting game from that perspective to see what Tampa Bay is in as they're trying to get their game back here into the lineup here and for the Flames, of course, they've won 2 in a row after a 7-game losing streak. Not great, not necessarily great hockey against the LA Kings. They were able to hang on to win. Still trying to figure out that defense without Oliver Shillington. Will be interesting to see how they use the goaltending with Markstrom, Vladar going through this trip. You've got Florida, Tampa, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Washington, Carolina on this trip. Do we continue to see Ruzicka, Lindholm, and Toffoli? Do we continue to see Backlund with Huberdeau and Lewis, or whatever they do in that constellation? How are the lines going to be playing defensive pair? There's still a lot to work out in Calgary right now, who are sitting here. As we look at the standings, are fighting right now fighting for a playoff spot in the Western Conference. So trying to get the Flames are trying to get that game together. So are the Lightning in some ways. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens tonight in this game here as we get through that here as well. So Tampa and Calgary tonight. We've got a few other interesting games going on here tonight in the National Hockey League. Let's go through them here. We've got the Philadelphia Flyers, who are stumbling. As the Boston Bruins, who are not. The Bruins are 14-2, 9-0 at home, and won their last 4. So should Philly in tough against Boston tonight. You got the 13 in a row New Jersey Devils, or 10 in a row, pardon me, New Jersey Devils taking on Toronto Maple Leafs, who are starting to get their game rounded into form. Pretty impressive winning against Pittsburgh earlier this week. So we've got that game. That should be an interesting game. A lot of media, or saw Amanda Stein on Twitter, a lot of media in the New Jersey Devils dressing room right now. A lot of talk around Lindy Ruff suggesting that Nico Hischier should be in the Selke conversation as well. So lots going on there. You've got Dallas taking on Florida. Dallas quietly leading the Central Division with 20 points. So they're trying to keep that going here. Florida, you're in third officially, I guess, and battling tied with Tampa, as mentioned, in the Atlantic Division here with Paul Maurice. You got Colorado and Carolina. I think that should be a good game. Colorado rounding themselves into form. Carolina also with 21 points, not too shabby themselves. There you got Montreal taking on Columbus, who continue to get injuries. Laine out for 3 weeks. Merzlikins is out. Rosslov, just a number of injuries in Columbus right now. Wondering what's going to happen with that team as we head to the trade deadline. Here, you got Washington. Sorry, drinking my Daryl Sutter juice. Taking on St. Louis tonight. St. Louis, as mentioned, winning 4 in a row. We'll see if they can keep that together. We got Matthew Barzal. Will Matthew Barzal get a goal? The Islanders taking on Nashville. Islanders, by the way, sitting second in the Metropolitan Division with 22 points. They've won 2 in a row. Nashville is kind of 1 point out of the wild card spot earlier in the year, and they've won 2 in a row as well. So a winning streak will continue tonight for sure. And you've also got Pittsburgh taking on Minnesota. No Marc-Andre Fleury for Minnesota tonight. He was injured in practice. Pittsburgh struggling along here with 6-7-3 and 15 points. I think they'll need to get it together here pretty quick. That's a team I've been keeping an eye on. Anaheim is in Winnipeg. Winnipeg sitting in second in the Central Division right now. Is that Connor Hellebuck? Is that something else? Arizona and Vegas tonight. Arizona playing pretty darn good hockey, considering all things considered. Thank you very much. Well, 6-8-1, 3 points out there. I think a lot of people expected worse for Arizona. So, where they're at, not bad. You've got Vegas, of course, 13-4, but they've lost 2 in a row. Are they starting to regress to the mean? Underrated game of the night. New York Rangers and Seattle Kraken. Kraken, I think that acquisition of Oliver Bjorkstrand that was talked about in Daily Faceoff, that might be one of the best trades of the offseason. Seattle looks a lot better than people give them credit for. 8-5-3, they're sitting with 19 points right now, third in the Pacific. The Rangers are in second wild card spot. They're another team, I think, trying to get their game together a little bit here. But you've got New Jersey playing really well. You've got the Islanders playing really well. So I think that'll be an underratedly good game, Rangers and Seattle. And then you also have Detroit taking on San Jose. And San Jose, of course, Erik Karlsson having a magnificent year for the Sharks, as they are 6-9-3. Detroit is only 1 point out of the wild card spot at 7-5-4, quietly doing the Yzer plan, quietly making waves here early in the year. So those are the games that are going on in the National Hockey League. A pretty busy night for hockey in the National Hockey League here. In terms of any other news, that's the big kind of covered everything there with the NHL about that. We'll just touch on Marc-Andre Fleury, placed on injured reserve today by the Wild. He got hurt in practice yesterday, so that's the other significant news coming out of Minnesota, who they've got, they get kind of relied on Fleury this year. They traded Cam Talbot. Zane McIntyre was recalled from Iowa to replace him. So you've got Philip Gustafson, Zane McIntyre, the goaltending combination in Minnesota. Let's look at the WHL now. Look at there. And we'll touch on the CHL rankings as well. Here we got that big trade, as mentioned. Nolan Allen joining Luke Prokop on the Seattle Thunderbirds blue line. 2002 born defenseman, first-round pick of the Chicago Blackhawks. From the Raiders for Gabe Ludwig, Easton Kovacs, Braden Dubé, and 6 picks, including 2 first-round picks, 1 second-round pick, 1 third-round pick, and 2 sixth-round picks. So the Thunderbirds putting their chips in to get a Memorial Cup run out of this here, and just looking at the standings at this point here in the WHL, interesting. It's certainly interesting to see what the Thunderbirds are doing here. I mean, they got to the WHL final last year. They're 12-3-1 second in the Western Conference this year. The Raiders are 7-12-2 and sitting in 9th place in the Eastern Conference. They've won 2 in a row, though. So, and so far, going to be interesting here as we look at this here. I mean, and you wonder, because the one other name that's going to be out there, and we're starting to hear the rumors, is the Connor Bedard. The Pats are 9-9-1. They certainly could be a playoff team, all things considered. You wonder if he's going to be traded. He's, of course, the expected number 1 pick in the 2023 draft. He's expected to start in the NHL right away. All of those things. You just wonder about that situation. But that's what's going on in terms of that significant trade here for the Thunderbirds, who are competing and off to a good start. 1 game tonight, and that is Connor Bedard and the Regina Pats taking on the Winnipeg Ice, who are 18-1 to start the year there as well. And so that's what's going on with that. And there. So we look at this rankings here of the top. Oh, sorry, one moment. There we go. As we look at the top 10 rankings here in the WHL, or the CHL here, looking at those numbers. And so we got the honorable mentions will be the Mississauga Steelheads, Victoria Tigers, and the quietly building Calgary Hitmen, who are doing pretty well here. But number 10, North Bay Battalion. Number 9, Saskatoon Blades. Windsor Spitfires. Number 8, Sherbrooke Phoenix. Number 7, you've got the Seattle Thunderbirds, as mentioned. Number 6 should be moving up. Portland Winterhawks are sitting at number 5. And you got the Red Deer Rebels sitting at number 4. So 3 WHL teams in a row. The Ottawa 67s in 3. You've got Quebec Remparts number 2, and the Winnipeg Ice are ranked number 1. And then just looking at the AHL here, Abbotsford played last night against Laval here. And so we'll see what's going on there. Here we got no games tonight, but last night Laval beat Abbotsford 4-2, as Chris Faber does a really nice job covering the Abbotsford Canucks for Canucks Conversation, so give him a follow. But Tristan Nielsen and Lane Peterson, newly acquired Lane Peterson, scored for the Canucks. Anthony Richard, Corey Schoenman, Raphael Harvey Pinard, and Anthony Richard scored for Laval. And no games tonight. We've got games tomorrow, which include, looking here, we've got the Wranglers taking on Bakersfield tomorrow, and Abbotsford is in Toronto to take on the Marlies. But that will be the news for today. You can, of course, follow us on Twitter. We'll be back on Sunday with a full podcast. Full gang of people will join us together. Sean, follow us on Twitter. Sean Beauty Canuck 03, Tyler TNOBLE, Christian Schneid's SCHNEIDZ, Devin Gordhow 09. I am KEVOLE, Shifts and Pucks, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.